Right. Crazy Rubik's Cube cheating scandal by Karl Jobst. Fake world record. I don't know what to expect, but it's definitely interesting because my only theory is either something related to oiling your hands or something weird, which I don't know if that's even like cheating or if it would help, or it's got to be related to the stickers, but I feel like that'd be very difficult to get away with in any sort of professional setting, so yeah, I don't know. Let's see.
Hello, you absolute legends. The Rubik's Cube is one of the most iconic and best-selling toys of all time. It's hard to overstate the impact this little puzzle had on culture in the 20th century. The premise is as basic as it gets. Try to make each side of the cube a solid color. It's almost impossible to solve without some kind of structured system, and
Okay, I've never actually seen one like that. I always wondered why they weren't like just colored bricks, but that actually looks really weird like that. Because I never even realized that was stickers when I was a kid. Yeah, I'm actually super curious about this. Yeah, it's a weird one. Yeah.
structured system, and I'd wager that out of the countless millions of people who've ever played with one, only a tiny fraction have ever had the ability to actually make any real progress. It didn't take long after the Rubik's Cube began mass production in 1980 for the competitive side of cubing to form. Initially, the competitions were exactly what you would expect they would be. Try to solve a scrambled cube in the quickest time. But over the decades, this simple puzzle has spawned a plethora of offshoot disciplines. In today's competitions, people aren't just competing with 3x3 cubes. They are using cubes that are 2x2 all the way up to 7x7, which—
What? There are 7x7s? That's wild. There are a bunch of different varieties of these things. I met someone on stream that had a bunch of them because she collected them. Oh, okay. I've only ever had the original. And these things are kind of expensive too. I think I bought one of these for like 20 bucks just for one. Really? It seemed like something to be super cheap, but you could probably get like off-brand ones, I assume, cheap. But yeah, I have like one of the original Rubik's Cubes. They're really cool, but 7x7? Oh my god. That's a little much for me.
just seems impossible to fathom as someone who's never solved a Rubik's Cube in their life. People compete blindfolded, using one hand, and there's even been a slew of weird tangentially related puzzles that have been introduced to competitions as well.
Okay, one-handed, that is wild. But you're probably going to have a very happy girlfriend, so you know, not the worst idea. And that thing, this thing that he is solving right there, that is just wild. That looks insane.
A slew of weird tangentially related puzzles that have been introduced to competitions as well. Another Rubik's Cube competition is called the Fewest Moves Challenge, or FMC. Competitors are given a scrambled cube and 1 hour to try and come up with a solution that solves the cube in the fewest moves. Usually in competitions there are 3 attempts with 3 different scrambles, and the average of the 3 is what determines your overall score.
I was thinking too, that kind of solves the whole sticker thing, right? If you have the cubes that are like solid, like pieces of plastic, that way the stickers can't be moved around. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, huh? Also, Rubik's Cubes where you got to be making notes, that's a whole other level, man. I've only ever dealt with the basic, regular, old school Rubik's Cube. Oh my gosh, they're doing this so fast. Yeah, it's wild. Especially like that one-hand one. Honestly, that was crazy. Oh yes, just look at her face right now. She's just drooling for those hands. I mean, you know, got some moves. Can't deny it. It's too early, dude.
The world record in competition is an average of 20 moves, which was set by Wong Chong-wen in 2023. But last month, a relative newcomer to FMC shocked the world by breaking this record with an average of 19.67 at the Sri Lankan Nationals. The competitor was a gentleman by the name of Kalindu, and Kalindu's rise to the top of the world was unbelievable. In just a couple of months, he had gone from someone who was asking basic beginner questions in the FMC Discord.
I still don't understand why the only green-orange edge piece was replaced by another misoriented edge in the same location, and 2 of the other edges changed its place. That's just a bunch of random words for me. Is there any material about this topic of how to trace the misoriented edges on the This is the basic shit? But damn.
to suddenly setting new records. Naturally, this raised some eyebrows, and to make things worse, there were a ton of things about this entire situation that were sketchy, to put it mildly. Almost immediately, the World Cubing Association started an investigation, and it didn't take long for them to discover the unfortunate truth. Kalindu cheated. Kalindu cheated big time. And in today's video, we are going to learn how he did it and how he was caught.
I mean, I guess did he get away with it though? Like, how long did it take before he was caught? That is pretty sketchy, with seemingly quick rise to being this good for him, because I imagine it takes a long time to get good at solving these. Yeah, I mean, there'd be some people who are kind of naturally gifted towards stuff like that, for sure. And you could definitely have someone who's just a savant level kind of thing pop out of nowhere. But in general, it's still going to be obviously suspicious, and people are going to look at you very carefully to make sure it's, you know. But we're only 2 minutes 15 in out of 14:54, so I'm super curious.
Really hope you enjoy. Now legends, a huge shout out to today's video sponsor, Watcher of Realms. Watcher of Realms is a really fun fantasy RPG that I've been playing tons of recently. It combines...
Okay, listen. I understand taking a sponsorship, and as far as they go, like, the mobile games ones, fair enough. They're a lot better than some of the crap. But saying you've been playing it a ton recently, like, come on. I find that a little hard to believe. I'll let this play, because, like, I am watching his video. But, you know, that line's just a little bit like, come on. It might be a kind of fun game to screw around on here or there or something, like, you know, maybe. You know, you're bored, you just take out your phone or something. I can see that. Just for, like, a lot of these games. But, like, really? Really? I don't know, man. Maybe you got into it, you know? Maybe I'm wrong.
Classic fantasy RPG elements with tower defense, which are two of my favorite genres. I love the strategic element that tower defense brings. It makes the gameplay so much more interesting. The graphics are amazing, and there are over 100 unique heroes to collect and develop. Watcher of Realms is currently celebrating its 1-year anniversary with a bunch of new content, including 2 new powerful heroes, a Nora...
I'm sorry, we need to just take that back for a moment. What did I just see?
Celebrating its 1-year anniversary with a bunch of new content, including 2 new powerful heroes.
She's like kissing or licking that, right? Like what? Like what am I seeing? How is this real?
Content, including 2 new powerful heroes, a Nora the Fierce.
She's like, I mean, I don't think she's actually licking it, but like she's... Like, those are not... Like... How is this in, like, an advertisement?
Bunch of new content, including 2 new powerful heroes, a Nora the Fierce Dragon Lady, and Imiret the Mighty Dragon. Together they unleash devastating skills and dominate the battlefield. Watcher of...
How is this real?
Realms has a great selection of game modes, including the campaign, arena, and the new Tower of Celebration, where you can strategize and conquer to earn fantastic...
She 100% is. We're seeing the motherload of content. That's what we're seeing. I know she's looking and very much enjoying things. Happy anniversary.
Rewards. The first anniversary also brings daily login rewards with over 34 summoning crystals to receive, plus 2 free legendary heroes from Fragment Summon and Fusion Summon events. You can also participate in surprise website events with a chance to win Amazon cards and a ton of in-game rewards. To download Watcher of Realms, just scan the QR code on screen. It's available for free on PC, Android, and iOS.
I mean, I can see their marketing, like, you know, like what their, I can see what their marketing plans are.
To participate in the website events, simply...
I'm sorry. What?
For free on PC, Android, and iOS. To participate in the...
That's, moving on. Shortly. Really? What is this advertisement? That's some mighty nip armor right there.
Website events, simply click the link in the description and start your adventure today. When I first learned...
Well, that is certainly one way to end a sponsor segment. That's just Hot Lady Simulator right there. I mean, That had a number of things that I was not expecting to see today. I mean, if you want to keep staring for the next hour or so, I'm going to stop you. I just can't believe that's in an actual, like... I mean, hey, it probably works.
And about the fewest moves challenge, an obvious question arose. Don't they already try to solve the cube in the fewest moves in every competition? When it comes to speed cubing, the fewer moves you have to perform, the faster you can solve the cube. This makes logical sense. But let's look at some numbers. There are quintillions of different scrambles a cube can have, but every single one of them can be solved with 20 moves or less. There is no state the cube can be in that would require more than 20 moves.
That's insane to me, the idea that, like, you can do it in 20 moves. That's so wild. I couldn't either. Like, I don't even know if that's YouTube approved. I mean, the nips were covered. Mostly.
The speed cubing world record is 3.13 seconds set by Max Park in June of last year. In this record, he solved the cube in 33 moves. This is incredible, but 33 is quite a bit larger than 20, which is the theoretical maximum that it should ever take. The reason for this discrepancy is that it's simply impossible for a human to look at a cube for 15 seconds, which is how long competitors have to examine the cube in speed cubing, and to know the quickest way to solve it. There are too many possible combinations, and the more moves into the future you go, it gets exponentially more complex. In FMC, competitors get an hour, and the best competitors use a mix of knowledge and experience to use this time to the maximum potential. FMC is a science. People spend years studying and mastering certain techniques and methods, and while an hour seems like a long time, ultimately it does end up being a race. It's a race to see how many paths you can go down, how many different combinations you can explore, to hopefully find a solution that's better than your rivals. As I said, humans can't eyeball the optimal solution, so they need to study and have a deep understanding of many different techniques and concepts that help them navigate the cube. FMC is a distinct skill from everything else, and it takes a long time to master. Unless, of course, your name is Kalindu. Kalindu
It's wild, like the level of complexity is insane. Also, I'm eating chocolate if it looks like I'm talking and I'm not saying anything. Oh yeah, we were watching a video about Rubik's Cube. Yeah, I had that same thought pass my mind.
began competitive cubing in 2022, and he took it very seriously. It wasn't just the competition that Kalindu enjoyed either. He took a very active role in helping to organize events in his home country of Sri Lanka. And in Sri Lanka, cubing wasn't as popular as some other developed countries. Eventually, Kalindu would become a delegate for the World Cubing Association, which is the official arbiter for all of the major events. As a delegate, it was Kalindu's job to manage and arbitrate competitions. For every event,
Okay, that's where you get into that position, suddenly cheating's, I can imagine it becomes a lot easier.
cubes are obviously scrambled first.
Because, I mean, you'd be the one handling the actual cubes at that point, right? Like, if you're involved with running competitions. Don't worry, we can hear you smothering the chocolate in your mouth. Ay. I'm just eating some, Turkish delight. It's pretty good.
But to ensure that competitions are fair, all of the competitors get the same scrambles for each attempt. The specific scrambles are generated using software provided by the WCA, and it's the delegate's role to generate the scrambles and print them out on sheets of paper to be used at events. Generally, they
have software for generating scrambles. Mate, there's so much to this that I just had no idea about. I mean, it makes sense though. This happens a lot in the competitive scenes, where there is so much pressure to be the best. Yeah, people do whatever it takes to get that edge. Yeah. And it's also like that thing of like, you know, power corrupts, right? And that doesn't mean you need a lot of power, but you get in that position where suddenly you're handling the cubes, you're the one overseeing, you can, you know, you got more control, like, yeah.
These scrambles are generated the day before an event takes place. At the beginning of 2024, Kalindu was off the radar when it came to FMC, but in March, he would go into beast mode. On March 4, he set a new PB with an average of 33 moves, which honestly is very amateur. As I said before, the speed cubing record was done in 33 moves, so in an hour, Kalindu matched what Max Park did in 15 seconds. A week later, Kalindu achieved a 24-move solve, and then a week after that, he would take his best solve down to 22 moves. This improvement is very rapid, but
it does seem like though, like, this guy's obviously intelligent or very good memory or something like that. Beast mode, opportunity knows worse. And probably there's money in it. Yeah, yeah. Even without money though, like, yeah. But like, this guy's obviously got a very good memory or something, because to be able to cheat in this kind of thing, you would still have to be at a certain level, like, which kind of, I feel like makes it sadder, because it's probably obvious, like it seems to be at least, obviously someone who had potential and could have actually kept moving their way up and stuff. I don't know, yeah.
Nothing too crazy had happened just yet. In late March, he joined the FMC Discord and started asking a bunch of questions about FMC techniques. Kalindu would practice like a madman, and then in May, during the Sri Lankan Nationals, Kalindu evolved into his final form. In this competition, there were 2 rounds with 3 attempts each. In the first round, he achieved an average of 20.33 moves, which was the second best ever, just shy of Wong Chong Wen's record average of exactly 20 moves. This was already shocking, and as this event was taking place, people were already raising eyebrows in the FMC Discord. Then in round 2, Kalindu performed even better, finding a solution of 21 moves on his first attempt, 20 moves on his second attempt, and 18 moves on his third attempt, achieving an average of 19.67 moves and setting a new world record. At this point, the FMC community were really in disbelief. Kalindu joins the Discord asking basic questions just 2 months ago, and now he is smashing records. It didn't make sense. On top of that, Kalindu was posting his solutions in the Discord as well, and his solutions didn't make sense. Sure, these solutions worked, but they weren't the type of solutions that you would expect to find. FMC relies heavily on established methods, and good FMC competitors can generally look at a solution and deduce the method that was used to find it. Humans do things in certain ways. There is usually some logic that you can follow to reach an answer. Computers use brute force, so they are able to find things that humans can't. Kalindu's solutions looked more like computer solutions, and I'll give you an example of what I mean. FMC competitors use a method known as domino reduction, which involves several steps. The exact method isn't too relevant, but the basic rule is that you want to finish each step in the fewest moves you can, and you only spend time going down paths where the first couple of steps were completed in relatively few moves. For example, a top-level solver would hope to complete the second step in around 10 moves. They would find several solutions that have this kind of good start, and then spend their time working on those. It's not possible to know how many remaining moves you need to solve a cube after these first couple of steps without putting in a lot of extra time working it out.
I'm curious though, like, so is the cheating and stuff all like, as long as it's just like self-reported stuff, like through the internet and stuff, like not in competition, or like, am I missing something? Because even if you were using a computer to do this or whatever, like, that would only be like at your home. Like, you know, you could cheat like by showing videos or you're faking it or things like that, but like, you wouldn't be able to get away with that in an actual competition setting, right? He's making me feel like I'm watching Dragon Ball Z Rubik's Cube Saga. Who is this narrator? Oh, haven't you watched him before? I'm calling it now, but his voice is AI. No, that's just how he sounds. Karl Jobst, he does good videos, really good videos. Yeah, he's got over 1 million subscribers recently. Like, yeah, no, he does really good stuff. I've watched a fair bit of his videos. I can imagine the cheating being set up well before these matches start, because there's no way you could do any of this during the tournament with how fast you need to move. Yeah, that's what I don't really get. Like, unless, like, I guess if you're in that position where he is, where you're running some of these competitions, you could be, like, having those, like, printouts being done and all that kind of stuff, then using a computer to come up with solves for them that you then apply during competitions. But if you're helping run them, you wouldn't think you'd be a part of them, or I don't know, there's still a fair bit left. I'm not sure.
So you focus on the fast starts and disregard any start that isn't ideal. Statistically, this is the best way to play the game. Kalindu didn't always do this. Sometimes he had very slow starts, finishing the second step in 12 or 13 moves. Then he ended up getting very lucky with quick finishes. One of the other FMC experts, Daniel Edgall, ran 1 million simulations and wasn't able to match the types of finishes Kalindu was getting a single time. To put it mildly, things were suspicious, and people were very outspoken about their doubts in the Discord. Several hours after the competition, Kalindu would post his worksheets to the Discord trying to vindicate himself. But this seemed to make things worse, because according to other top solvers, they didn't show enough working. Kalindu seemed to find the solutions way too quickly without running through enough possible solutions. It was like he magically stumbled onto the correct path every time. Several days later, Kalindu posted an hour-long video to his YouTube channel where he broke down his reasoning for the solutions. However, again, to the other top solvers, his explanations were not sufficient. Kalindu claimed he had developed a better way of finding solutions. While everyone else had to run through many different possible combinations to try and find a good one, Kalindu's bright idea was just to skip the first step and jump straight to finding good solutions. He didn't explain how, he just said he found good solutions by starting with a good solution and working backwards to make it even better. It made no logical sense. Kalindu was digging his own grave. Most people already thought he cheated, and his explanations weren't helping. But if he did...
Is that like the standard Rubik's Cube now? Like where they're not stickers? I'm seeing these more and more in this video here. Are they like the standard ones for competition or something? I feel like they make a lot more sense, but I kind of feel like they should have kept the... They should have kept the old look though. Like rather than have stickers, just have that part be... well, plastic, colored plastic, but still keep the black around the edges like it's a sticker or something. I feel like they just don't look as cool. I don't know. I really like the original maybe it's because I've just seen it so much, but I feel like it would have been cool if they mimicked it more. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know if there is a tournament standard for all this. I assume there would be, or at least probably varies, but I don't know. I feel like it'd be cool if they mimicked the look though. I don't know.
Cheat. How did he do it? Well, there are two possibilities. One is that after seeing the scrambles and during competition, he used a small computer to find a solution. The other possibility is that he knew the scrambles well beforehand and memorized the solution going into the competition. The latter seemed more likely, especially because Kalindu was a delegate, which means it was literally his job to generate scrambles and bring them to the competition. Now, there were several other delegates at that competition, so it was possible that someone else handled the scrambles for FMC and not Kalindu.
I figured it had to be beforehand. Yeah.
And in his Discord message after the event, Kalindu said that another delegate handled those scrambles. But this was ultimately shown to be a lie. It was Kalindu that generated the scrambles for FMC at this event. The WCA immediately launched an investigation. They reached out to the creator of an online tool called Mallard, which is a tool FMC solvers use to find optimal solutions to scrambles. This wasn't common knowledge at the time, but every single scramble that is put into this tool is logged. So they checked to see if anyone had used this tool to enter the scrambles that were generated for the Sri Lankan nationals.
Oh. That's interesting.
The answer was no, but then they went a step further and checked Kalindu's two previous events, the ones back in March where he achieved solves of 24 and then 22. And it turns out that several days before each competition, someone entered those exact scrambles into the Mallard tool. And for those two events, the only delegate was Kalindu. So he is the only possible person that had access to them before the competition. The fact that the most recent scrambles weren't present also makes sense, because after those first two competitions where this tool was used, Kalindu asked in the Discord about using a different tool called Nissi, which happens to be offline and isn't logged, so it looks like Kalindu switched over to something less traceable. When asked when he generated the scrambles for the events, Kalindu said that he always does it the day before, which is standard practice. Even though this was already contradicted by the Mallard logs, the WCA went further to ask for the scrambled files.
The thing I'm a little bit confused on here, and maybe I've missed something, maybe I didn't pay attention properly. Like, wouldn't it be that, it seems like the delegate who generates these, they shouldn't be able to be in the competition, right? Like other delegates or whatever, I assume it shouldn't be a problem, but specifically the one who is generating these, you would think they wouldn't be allowed to be in the same competition, right? Because like even if they weren't using a computer, doesn't that mean they still had to get an advantage because they're going to see them since they're the ones who generated them? So they would see them before the competition? I don't know if I'm missing something. Because it seems like if he was the one who generated them, he shouldn't have been participating anyway. I'd have to agree, yeah. I don't know if I am overlooking something or if I didn't pay attention properly, or... Like, you feel like that would just be standard practice, or like... Yeah, like the person who's generating certainly shouldn't be a part of the competition. Like that doesn't seem right.
which would show the creation date in the metadata. Kalindu did send over the files, which really
I think we would have to dive into the rules a bit more to make sense of it. Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know.
makes me wonder just how clueless Kalindu is, because the creation dates of the scrambles show that they were always generated well over a month before competition. After the creation dates were exposed, and Kalindu was made aware of the discrepancy, Kalindu claimed the creation dates were so early because the date on his computer was incorrectly off by 40 days.
Really?
Possibly the worst excuse I've ever heard. From the Mallard logs and the metadata of the scrambled files, the truth is clear. Kalindu generated the scrambles over a month before each competition, he checked for optimal solutions ahead of time, and he simply regurgitated what he had memorized during the competition.
Yeah, so that gave him like even more time to actually be able to fully memorize it. Yeah.
What's abundantly clear is that Kalindu has no remorse and went to every length possible to try and make his cheated result more legitimate.
But yes, that kind of confirms though, like he still was able to be in this competition, right? Like, because even if he had generated them a day before, like his standard practice, and even if he didn't use a computer to do this or whatever, he would still see it beforehand. That's got to be a pretty big advantage with something like this, right? Like, I assume the assumption would be, you know, in sport, like if everyone's being good sports about it all, they're not going to be looking at it. But it just seems like standard practice should be that if you're the one who generates, you're not allowed to be in the actual competition. That seems pretty reasonable.
Including initially lying about not handling the scrambles, making an
That really is a shame. Wait, you were right about his good memory too? Yeah. That really is a shame, because he could have done this legit way and still been a good job as well. Yeah, it sounds like he just got tempted by the position he was in. I guess that's why they started this whole organization to check cheaters like this now. Yeah, I just don't know. It seems like something that shouldn't have been able to happen to begin with, to me. Like, not that takes away from what he did, obviously. That makes it, well, it doesn't really impact that. But yeah, it just seems really weird to me that, I mean, if you've got like this organization in place and stuff, there should be a few specific rules. Like, I mean, for one, it shouldn't even be possible that he can have generated these over 40 days before the competition. Like, there should be checks and balances for that kind of thing, I would think. But also the person who generates should not be able to be in the competition. Like, I think both of those should be the case.
Hour-long video trying to justify his reasoning and coming up with the dumbest excuse ever for why the file creation dates are so early. The WCA ultimately banned Kalindu from competition for 8 years and removed him from their organization.
Yeah, like the WCA or whatever, like that should be a standard check thing. Like, it shouldn't have taken an investigation to know that the files were like over 40 days old. Like, that should be like, you should have to generate that, like, I don't know, some like on the day of the competition or something. And if you're generating it, meaning you can see it in any way. I mean, in general, it doesn't seem like the delegates should be in the competition. Like, they're the ones running it. They shouldn't be in it. I mean, I guess to be fair, if you haven't seen if it's been generated and like if there's multiple delegates and one of them generates, the others haven't seen it, then there's no problem, I guess. But I just mean, especially or specifically, I should say, if you're the one who's generating, you should not be in the competition. Yeah, I guess you know, have a ton of people in this position that cheat, so it was more of an oversight for a long time until now. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, I can understand like more of an oversight with the creation date stuff, but you think it would be a standard rule that the person generating can't be in the competition. That seems like a very straightforward thing to me, unless I'm missing something, that is, obviously.
This situation shines light on the obvious dangers of allowing a competitor to also have access to the scrambles before a competition.
Oh, yeah.
Allowing a competitor to generate scrambles in private and have access to them for a prolonged period of time seems like a risky practice. And this situation is really sad, because by all accounts, Kalindu was a massive positive influence for cubing in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, that's the thing too. The fact that he was very significant in Sri Lanka and was like, yeah, like that's like a whole other side of it that sucks.
He put so much effort into organizing events and really helped to popularize the sport in his own country. Maybe he never planned to cheat, but because he was put in such a position where cheating was so easy, he couldn't resist the temptation. And that
was the thing too. It really was so easy, wasn't it? Not to get away with, but to do it, yeah.
really is just a very common flaw in human nature, which is why allowing these situations to happen at all is generally ill-advised. A big thanks to Noah Swore for chatting with me and helping me learn a bit more about FMC. If you are interested in cubing, go and show some love on his channel. Thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.
Damn, that was a watch. Yeah. It does seem that all of this could have been prevented, like, with a couple of rules that seem like they should just be standard to me. But yeah, like, because it was so easy. And, like, there's no way he's the only one, right? Like, if it's just, like, standard in these competition that delegates can generate these, even if there isn't a bunch of people using computers, you can almost guarantee at least these people are, like, even if they're generating the day before, they can still, like, literally, even if it's just like a 1 hour, they can stare at it. With how these, like, I don't know a lot about the Rubik's Cube stuff other than from this video, but, like, just being able to print it out the day before and stare at it for an hour, that's got to be a huge advantage in competitions like this. Yes, it could have, and they even admitted in the video, yeah, yeah. Just a massive oversight. Yeah, really, it seems like a huge oversight. And that's really too bad too, because that would be in the case. How many other people in his position have done cheating like he has? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, and not even to that degree probably though. Like I said, like his was kind of the extreme end, but on the easier to get away with end, like, because the problem with his way of doing it was involving a computer, which meant that his work wasn't going to show properly. But you could just generate it the night before and just sit there for 3 hours just staring at it, memorizing where they are. And then in your head, you can start working things out. And that way your work is going to still show correctly when you do it, like not involving a computer, but you're going to be able to do it way faster. I mean, even seeing it for a second before the competition seems like an advantage with this type of stuff. They would have to do massive investigations of this because some people could have cheated out of some top placements. Yeah, I guess that's a tough thing though, because of how this is set up. Like, he's only able to be caught because he used the computer, which meant his work didn't show properly. But like in the example I gave, if someone just stared at it for an hour the night before, you can't really investigate to find anything because they would have just been faster. Like, it's an advantage that's really invisible in terms of like investigating. He just took it to like the extreme end, having a computer like solve it for him, and then yeah, I imagine they've had so many people cheat, like in a real, like, just yeah, and then he ended up in the video using some other website that was offline that wasn't really traceable either. Yeah, well that too, which means, I mean, it's still, that's less traceable. So like if other people are doing it, it's harder to prove. But their work is obviously not going to show properly if you use a computer. But so many people could easily get away with just, yeah, just staring at it. Like I said, just, I mean, it seems like the people who excel at this stuff have good memories for sure. So just being able to, like, yeah, look at a piece of paper with the printout beforehand, no computers, no nothing. That's got to be a huge advantage, to say the least. Yeah, and he outed himself with how much progress he was making in such a short time, and his work just not making any sense. Yeah. He ran with it to the extreme and didn't think about how to actually get away with it, and tried, but Yeah, I mean, yeah, nah, yeah. But that's the thing. His was the extreme end. The non-extreme end, much easier to get away with. But yeah, that was Crazy Rubik's Cubes Cheating Scandal by Karl Jobst. If you're not familiar with him, really good channel, honestly. Very, very recommended. Yeah.